Hey, it's Luke from LT Gaming, and today we're asking whether Elite Dangerous is actually any good in 2026. Because after spending years away from the game, I recently climbed back into the cockpit with the new Lynx Highliner to see how the galaxy feels today. And what began as a fairly relaxed return to passenger transport quickly became sightseeing expeditions, atmospheric landings, bounty hunting, ship collecting, and several questionable late-night decisions that got me in trouble with the wife. Elite has always been a difficult game to explain. It can be slow, confusing, and incredibly demanding on your time. But when everything clicks, there is still nothing else that makes you feel quite so much like the captain of a real spacecraft. So before we charge that frameshift drive, boost into the like button. It helps the channel massively, requires less engineering than a combat-ready ship, and hopefully will not fine you for loitering while you're still trying to work out how to land. So let's jump into some of the big changes in 2026 and why you might want to come back and check Elite out. The biggest new addition is Operations, a more structured activity that can be played alone, with a squad, or through matchmaking. As a player in this mode, you are transported aboard the Operation Runner into self-contained scenarios, mixing ship combat, on-foot action, and coordinated objectives across planetary locations, stations, and megaships. They decided to include 6 of these at launch, with more on the way, so it's good to know they're going to support this game mode. The Operation Runner also acts as a repair, rearm, and respawn point, making these missions far more approachable than the traditional Elite experience, and I think this is important given some of the criticism this game has had over the years. More on that to come later, so hang around if you want to hear the bad stuff too. You can essentially earn Merc Coin, which can be exchanged for equipment and engineering rewards. The launch has been a bit of a mixed bag. It needs some technical fixes, but overall direction is promising because Operations finally gives players clear, focused missions without removing the enormous sandbox surrounding them. Now let's jump into some of the reasons I absolutely love Elite Dangerous in 2026. It still has the best sense of scale of any space game I've played. I started playing 2 weeks ago and I think I've done nearly 100 hours. It's kind of scary, to be honest. And I was constantly reminded of this scale during one of my sightseeing missions in the Lynx Highliner, when what would look like a simple passenger contract became a massive jump journey followed by a long atmospheric descent towards a visitor beacon on a distant planet. At first I was kind of sat there thinking, why is this taking so long? But then it clicked with me, this is the whole point, and I just started enjoying my journeys and the sightseeing and all the things I saw along the way. Elite does not make space feel small, it makes you feel small, and I think that's one of its strong points. I did make a short on this and some people push back in the comments to say they think it's just empty. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, I'm always open to a completely different point of view, but do make it constructive because I tend to go back to those more often. One of the things that pulled me into the universe even more is the audio. Every ship has its own mechanical personality with groaning hulls, rumbling engines, powerful weapons, and an escalating charge of the frameshift drive making the cockpit feel like a real machine. The music knows when to remain quiet and when to rise as you approach a planet or emerge beside a star, creating moments that can feel genuinely cinematic without the game needing to force them on you. The variety of activities in this game remains one of Elite's greatest strengths. You can trade, mine, transport cargo, carry passengers, which I'm a huge fan of, hunt pirates, which I've heavily upgraded my Cobra Mark V to do, explore the unknown, where I have my Diamondback Explorer, scan alien biology, participate in power play, and take on Odyssey missions on foot. As stated in the intro, I started with passenger transport and enjoyed it far more than I expected, gradually turning my Highliner into a proper long-distance vessel by upgrading its frameshift drive so I could now jump about 25 light years, and I fitted it with a fuel scoop while stopping at stations along the route. This has made my passenger journeys really enjoyable and I've got to know the local systems really well. Combat then gave me a completely different game. I moved from an Imperial Eagle into a Cobra Mark V, upgraded its power plant, shields, distributor, and weapons, and immediately noticed how much faster it could strip a pirate's shields. I've since gone on a bit of a ship collecting run, which is huge fun for me, a Cobra Mark III, Viper Mark III, and Diamondback Explorer. Then you've got the Odyssey experience, which is another collection of activities through settlements, salvage, ground combat, and restoration missions. Early on, my first attempt at landing near a settlement ended with fines, confusion, and my ship being destroyed before I could even disembark. So you do have to look things up, and I found the guides out there very useful, but there is a learning curve, and this game definitely has its own very unique way of doing things that isn't always intuitive. Fast forward about 50 hours later this week, and I'm now doing these things really easily, so it does become muscle memory. Just a quick interlude to say subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 100k, and we really need you to get there. We are a proper PC gaming channel. You're going to find all the best games here, including space, war games, RTS, and everything you can think of. We even do some amazing mod spotlights. So if you have amazing taste in games, hit the subscribe button. Both me and Tom really appreciate you. For me, ships remain the heart of Elite Dangerous because even relatively inexpensive vessels have their own cockpits, engine sounds, handling and personalities. The Cobra Mark III may no longer be the most advanced option, but it is simply fun to fly and take screenshots of, while my Cobra Mark V feels like a more capable modern daily driver. My latest purchase is a Python Mark II, which takes me into a bit of a bigger area, and I'm really enjoying it, but I'll report back with more findings, possibly in a short, so keep an eye out for that one. The Lynx Highliner is basically my business, the Cobra is my combat ship, and the Diamondback Explorer is ready for longer expeditions, while the Viper and Imperial Eagle simply exist because I like taking screenshots and want to fly something fast. Let me know in the comments, guys, what's your favourite ships in Elite Dangerous to fly, and it doesn't always have to be min-maxing. I like the immersive regions you like those ships, so let me know. Moving forward into the future, Frontier is committed to 6 new ships across 2026, with the Kestrel Mark II, Lynx Highliner and Nomad already expanding 3 very different areas of the game. The Kestrel is a great little dedicated small combat vessel, while the Highliner is a medium passenger ship and makes all my money. And then finally, the Nomad is a compact ship-launched explorer designed for planetary terrain and exobiology. New ships are of course very welcome, but their greatest value comes from giving players fresh reasons to return to different careers, rather than simply replacing everything already in their hangars. One of my favourite things to do in any space game is take screenshots. I mean, just ask the Discord, I've been mad on it this week. And Elite's external camera has been an absolute joy throughout my return. Once you learn the controls, you can detach the camera, move around the ship and capture everything from station approaches and atmospheric flight to combat and distant planets. And then ultimately there's the pilot experience. This game is for flying aficionados. It's for people who love to get in their cockpit, become immersed, even play in VR, use a controller, use a joystick, have a full HOTAS setup. It all works brilliantly in this game. Now this is an LT gaming video, and although I'm very high on the Elite crack pipe right now, that was a bit inappropriate, Luke, but yeah, I don't do crack, by the way, I'm just comparing it to Elite. So to be honest, I have no idea, but yeah, we're going to move on from that statement. I have to basically give you a balanced view and also tell you what's bad here. I think the biggest problem for the average gamer is that Elite remains a massive time sink, particularly for players who want instant action. Traveling, approaching planets, searching for targets, outfitting ships, and simply understanding mission instructions can consume far more time than expected. The game is still poor at teaching basic interactions, and during my return there was plenty of looking things up. The Ark store is another uncomfortable element. Many cosmetics, ship kits and pre-built vessels require premium currency, while some new ships receive paid early access before becoming available for normal credits later. Look, it's not really a permanent paywall across the whole game, but paying can provide immediate access to ships, prepaid loadouts and some of the most appealing customization. I don't know, I had a chat with Tom about this and he didn't think it was very cool that you had to pay for customization. Then repeated stations and settlement assets are also increasingly noticeable after more than a decade of development. And if you play Elite, you're going to have an imagination to fill in the blanks here. Some people see an immersive journey across the solar system, others simply see several minutes where very little happens. I'm the guy who sits on the immersive side and could play this for hours, but I get why some players may not see it that way. And then finally, the decision to end active console development and leave Xbox and PlayStation players on the older legacy version remains deeply disappointing as well. The encouraging news is that Elite has momentum again, with operations, 3 additional 2026 ships and a mysterious reboot of an existing feature still planned. What I want now is not simply more vessels, but more distinctive stations, planetary structures, discoveries and mission locations that reduce the reliance on repeated assets. I would love also, guys, to see Frontier reconsider modern console versions, or even a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, because the game works remarkably well on my Lenovo Legion Go, and feels perfectly suited to portable play with a controller, even if Frontier's current PC-focused direction makes that unlikely. Elite also desperately needs proper ship interiors. These vessels are supposed to be our homes, workplaces, and most important possessions, yet we still teleport between the cockpit and the ground rather than physically walking through them. Being able to leave the pilot's seat, explore the cabin, access cargo areas, or simply look out through another window would add enormously to the immersion, particularly during long journeys where the ship itself should feel like a real place rather than just a cockpit attached to a menu. I would love to see this added in a future update, and I really think it would add another layer to this game and probably make it one of the best of all time. So it's about that time where I've got to answer my own question. Is Elite Dangerous the best space game in 2026? For pure spaceflight scale and the fantasy of being an individual pilot inside the Milky Way, I think it remains a standout experience. Elite is a game for people who genuinely love spacecraft and space. It wants you to learn your vessel, understand its fuel, jump range, weapons and power distribution, and turn a routine passenger contract into a personal expedition. However, I would still argue that X4 Foundations, especially with the Star Wars Interworlds mod, creates a stronger long-term reason to continue playing because its ships become fleets. Its fleets become stations and its stations become an empire. X4 makes me feel like I control a space civilization, while Elite makes me feel like I actually own a spacecraft. My return, and I'll be honest about this, has left me utterly hooked, while also reminding me that this is a slow, repetitive and sometimes badly explained game that needs the player to meet it halfway. I stayed up until 2 in the morning playing it last night and was already in trouble with my wife, so I think it's fair to say I consider myself officially back. Let me know whether you're still playing Elite Dangerous in 2026, whether Operations has tempted you to return, and which space game delivers your favourite version of Life Among the Stars. If you say X4, I'm totally with you. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel for more strategy, sci-fi and space game coverage, and I'll see you out there amongst the stars.